day and night, 24/7. They are digging and digging and digging.
It's demolishing our landscape, our houses, and it's demolishing our lives, our history.
This village, like hundreds before it, is supposed to be torn down for coal, the most polluting energy source on the planet. So how is this happening in Germany, a country that likes to present itself as green and forward-thinking? And how are activists and villagers trying to prevent the destruction?
We are standing here fighting against that system which is making a profit out of crisis.
We're driving through the Rheinisches Revier, which is the biggest brown coal reserve in Europe. And you can see coal excavators right there. This area in Western Germany has been mined for decades, back when coal was the country's main source of power.
Mehr Kohle heißt mehr Leben in der Wirtschaft.
Coal was the backbone of the economy and has created many thousands of jobs. Germany has recently legally bound itself to become climate neutral by 2045. But today, almost a third of the country's energy still comes from coal. So the coal that's been excavated right here is brown coal or lignite. It's the lowest grade coal. That means you need a lot of it to generate energy compared to other types of coal, which makes it the dirtiest of all the energy sources. It emits the most CO2 per kilowatt hour of generated energy. If you see this, you wouldn't think we're trying to transition out of coal and fossil fuels. And you can see those two power stations there. That's where this coal is burnt to produce energy. And to get at that energy, the mines have been eating their way through the landscape. This mine, called Garzweiler 2, alone swallowed over a dozen villages in the past decades. Houses and landmarks had to be bulldozed, and over 6,000 people were relocated. The same goes for coal reserves in central and eastern Germany. A total of over 120,000 people had to make space for the mines. And up next is the village that we headed to, called Lützerath. It's supposed to be torn down in the coming weeks by one of Germany's biggest energy companies. Half of Lützerath has been torn down already. And Eckhard Heukamp is the only remaining resident.
Also ich habe die meiste Zeit meines Lebens hier verbracht, unten in dem Elternhaus aufgewachsen. Ich bin die vierte Generation. Der Hof, diese Gebäude hinter mir, die weiß getüncht sind, ist von 1763.
Eckhard has been trying to stop the energy company from bulldozing his home for 10 years. But in March of 2022, a high administrative court ruled he had to finally give up. He has to move out in the coming days. Warum haben Sie so lange Einspruch eingelegt? Warum wollten Sie hier bleiben, auch wenn andere Leute schon gegangen sind?
Ich bin der Meinung, dass das Lützerath ein erhaltenswerter Ort war und auch ist. Auch noch, wenn es jetzt nur noch ein Teil des Ortes steht. Und auf der anderen Seite sind natürlich auch die Klimaschutzproblematik, die wir haben, die eigentlich nach meinem Dafürhalten von der Bundesregierung nicht genügend berücksichtigt wird. Also man hat immer so den Eindruck, wir leben in der Generation heute und an die nächste und übernächste Generation wird immer weniger gedacht.
The energy company RWE has offered him a temporary farm close by and has compensated him for his property, just like they did for all other displaced residents.
Was bleibt natürlich der Verlust der Heimat? Der ist gravierend. Was nützt mir das Geld? Was nützt mir die Möglichkeit, wenn man im Endeffekt das verloren hat, wo man ja aufgewachsen ist, woran man hängt? Das ist einfach so.
But this isn't just about Eckhard's property. Lützerath has become much more. It's now the center of the protest against the extraction of coal. The village sits on more than 100 million tons of it. Burning it all would be equivalent to the CO2 that 20 million cars emit in a year. That's why in 2015, activists started to gather on his property. In the past 2 years, it has become a fully inhabited camp where many groups meet to hold protests. Lakshmi Devasayam is part of a group called Lützerath Lives. She's been living here for a year now. I mean, you could now say, this is so huge anyway. And Lützerath is such a small village. Why does it matter?
Lützerath is a symbol against this greed which we're seeing here. So not only is a lot of coal in this region under Lützerath especially, but also we have to stop digging coal now. When we say every village has to stay, we don't only mean the villages here, but we mean all the villages in all the world.
Up to 100 activists live here permanently, and many more come to visit during festivals and protests, like Dina Hamid.
It's all kinds of people who are here. It's people who live in the villages around and who know the danger of what it feels like to have the danger of being evicted. And we also have a lot of activists from all over Germany and sometimes from all over the world.
Dina, Lakshmi and many of the people here were also involved in a successful protest close to a neighbouring coal mine. For years, activists camped out in a forest that was supposed to be cut down for coal by the same energy company. The attempted eviction in 2018 was described as the biggest police mobilization in the history of the state. Faced with the protests, RWE eventually agreed to abandon that plan. Last year they had another success. The company agreed to stop the planned demolition of 5 further villages just north of Lützerath.
But Lützerath is the one that RWE still really wants to take down for their profits.
Activists, experts and the energy company wildly disagree on whether or not the coal under Lützerath is needed to secure enough energy for the region. A recent study co-authored by scholars called the Coal Exit Research Group calculated that even with the looming energy crisis, there is no need to dig out the coal underneath the village. But multiple studies funded by the power company come to the opposite conclusion. Legally, the situation is clear. In 1995, the state government gave RWE permission to excavate the coal underneath Lützerath and over a dozen other villages. The decision has been controversial ever since. Activists and villagers tried to challenge it in court, but in the case of Lützerath, remain unsuccessful. The company has mentioned the possibility of stopping coal mining by 2030. If you just saw their PR videos, you'd think they're all about renewables.
Energy should be renewable and clean.
Meanwhile, only 20% of the energy they produced last year came from renewable resources. They are steadfast in bringing in the bulldozers and maintain that the coal underneath Lützerath is necessary to feed their coal power plants close by. We reached out to the energy supplier, but they were unwilling to comment on the current situation. Activists believe that RWE will not stop digging unless it's pressured by the government. That's why they're protesting right in front of the state's economics ministry. The ministry is in the hands of the Green Party and is currently in discussions with RWE about the village.
Es wird Zeit, dass das Primat von RWE durchbrochen wird und Entscheidungen getroffen werden, die Klimaschutz an erste Stelle setzen.
David Riesen is a spokesman for Alle Dörfer bleiben, which translates to All the Villages Must Remain, a group that was instrumental in protecting the 5 villages before Lützerath.
The problem with the fossil fuel exit mainly is that there are so many people in the ministries, in the companies, in the relevant positions that are still want to keep the fossil fuel industry, and the fossil fuel industry is really, really powerful.
The Green Party took over for the first time in June 2022, putting them in a tight spot between their core value of environmentalism and the policies introduced by other parties before them. The decision on Lützerath is supposed to be announced in the coming weeks.
RWE has been able to put pressure on the politics, and now they're using this opportunity of there being an energy crisis and a lot of people being scared that they cannot pay their bills, that there will not be enough energy, not be enough gas.
The ministry did not grant us an interview, but the minister made an appearance during the rally.
Einfach es klar und auch hier gesagt zu haben, und mir ist klar, dafür kriege ich jetzt keinen Applaus. Die rechtliche Lage, was Lützerath betrifft, die Siedlung Lützerath, ist eindeutig entschieden. Es ist RWE-Eigentum. Punkt. Auf Grundlage unabhängiger Begutachtung werden wir Entscheidungen treffen.
The coal industry and the former local governments have been intertwined for decades. The sector used to be one of the top employers in the region. Former state governments have been accused of letting coal lobbyists actively influence their energy policy. Many cities and villages are shareholders of RWE. The former state prime minister joined the supervisory board of the company after his term. Back in the camp, the preparations are ramping up. It's quite high, actually.
We are in one of the tree houses, lovely tree houses of the Lützerath forest. So we can see that people can sleep here, people can stay here also during an eviction to stop the police and make their progress slower. Our first priority is, of course, to keep everyone safe. So we have food, we have connections to all of the other tree houses. The more far up you go, the harder it will be for the police to take you down.
Tactics that have proven successful in the previous protest action just a few kilometers away.
We're going to be a very broad and very powerful movement which is going to defend Lützerath.
A week after filming, Lützerath's future was officially decided. The economics minister and the deputy chancellor of Germany announced that the company will stop mining in 2030 instead of 38, but that Lützerath needs to be evicted.
Alle drei unabhängigen Gutachten kommen zu dem Schluss, dass eine Landzunge oder Insellage der Siedlung Lützerath nicht zu rechtfertigen ist.
Eckhard Heukamp has moved out of his property. Activists are questioning the assessments the decision was based on and have called it a farce. They are continuing their fight for Lützerath and against further coal mining. This is definitely one of the most surreal places I've visited. If you'd like to see more videos like these, please subscribe. We put one out every Friday.